Imagine a world where a few brave leaders decide the future for lots of people. They built amazing things, and their kingdoms were huge, stretching as far as you could see. In the history books, some leaders are remembered forever because they did incredible things. From ancient Rome to the wide-open lands of the Mongols, these leaders were more than just bosses. They changed the world. Let's dive into the stories of the 5 coolest leaders from long ago. Who were they? Why did they go on big adventures? And how do people still remember them today? Come with us on a journey back in time to a world where being powerful and smart made you the ruler of everything. But before we get moving, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon. Imagine a city full of whispers of war, where chaos ruled and no one knew who they could trust. This was Rome, over 2,000 years ago, before it became the huge empire we know about. In came a young man named Augustus. Well, actually, his name was Octavian at first. He was Julius Caesar's nephew and had big dreams for Rome. After Julius Caesar was betrayed and gone, Rome was like a ship without a captain. Augustus didn't want Rome to be lost at sea. He had a vision of a Rome that was peaceful and organized, where people could live happily without fear of sudden wars or unfair rulers. So, what did Augustus do? First, he had to win some big battles against those who didn't want Rome to change. He was smart and strong, and soon he became the boss of Rome. But he didn't call himself a king. No, he was clever. He knew people didn't like the idea of having a king, so he called himself the first citizen of Rome, which sounded much friendlier. Augustus was a master planner. He fixed roads, built beautiful buildings, and even started a special police force to keep the streets safe. People started feeling happy and secure. They had food to eat, places to live, and beautiful temples to visit. This peaceful and prosperous time was called the Pax Romana, which means Roman peace. Under Augustus, Rome was like a phoenix rising from its ashes. It grew stronger and more beautiful. Augustus showed the world that with smart leadership and a big heart, you can turn chaos into peace. He wasn't just building an empire, he was creating a new way of life for his people. And that's how Augustus Caesar, the smart and determined young man, became the first emperor of Rome and kicked off an era that would make Rome legendary. He taught us that sometimes, to make big changes, you need to think differently and care about the people you lead. Long, long ago, before China was one big country, it was split into many smaller lands, always fighting each other. Then came a young and ambitious leader named Qin Shi Huang. He had a dream bigger than anyone else's, to bring all these lands together and make them one. And guess what? He did it. Qin Shi Huang became the first emperor of a united China. But he wasn't just about winning battles. He had some pretty cool ideas too. Ever heard of the Great Wall of China? Yep, that was his project. He started building this massive wall to protect his new country from invaders. But here's something even more fascinating. Qin Shi Huang was obsessed with living forever. He didn't want to leave his empire ever. So he ordered his people to build an army. Not a regular one, but one made entirely out of clay. These clay soldiers, called the Terracotta Army, were supposed to protect him in the afterlife. Thousands of them, each one with a different face, standing guard over his tomb. It's like he wanted his rule to last forever, even after he was gone. Qin Shi Huang also wanted everyone in his empire to be on the same page. So he made sure everyone wrote the same way, used the same money, and even drove their chariots on the same side of the road. It was his way of saying, hey, we're all in this together now. But being so powerful also made him a bit paranoid. He was always worried about someone taking his throne. So he made some harsh rules, and not everyone was happy. Despite this, Qin Shi Huang's dream of a united China was a game changer. For the first time in history, China was one big family, thanks to him. And that's the story of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to look at a map of China and say, "This is all mine." He left behind a legacy that's still remembered today, not just for the Great Wall or his clay army, but for making China one. Once upon a time, in the vast open lands of Mongolia, there lived a boy named Temujin. This boy would grow up to become Genghis Khan, one of the most famous leaders in history. But how did a young boy from a tough childhood become a ruler of the largest empire the world had ever seen? As a kid, he faced hard times. He didn't grow up in a big palace. Instead, he lived in a tent. He learned to ride horses and shoot arrows, which were super important skills on the vast steppes of Mongolia. But it wasn't just his skills that made him a great leader. It was his brain. Genghis Khan was really smart, especially when it came to making friends out of enemies and figuring out the best ways to win battles. He had a dream bigger than any before, to bring together the nomadic tribes of Mongolia. And he did it. But Genghis Khan didn't stop there. He looked beyond the Mongolian steppes and decided to create an empire that stretched from the Pacific Ocean all the way to Europe. That's like trying to walk across the whole world. Imagine this: Genghis Khan and his warriors on horseback, riding fast like the wind, conquering lands far and wide. They were so fast and fierce that people called them the horseback warriors of the steppes. But Genghis Khan wasn't just about battles. He was also pretty smart with rules. He made laws that helped traders and kept his empire peaceful inside, even though it was always growing. He built an empire where messages could travel super fast for those times, thanks to a system kind of like ancient post offices, which helped him keep in touch with the far corners of his empire. And guess what? He even respected different religions and cultures, which was a big deal back then. Genghis Khan's story is like something out of an adventure book, but it was all real. He showed the world that with determination, smarts, and a bit of bravery, you can go from having almost nothing to being remembered as one of the greatest leaders in history. In the heart of ancient India, there was a powerful king named Ashoka. But he wasn't just any king. He had a story that would make everyone stop and listen. Once, Ashoka was a fierce warrior king who wanted to expand his kingdom, even if it meant big battles. But one day, after a really huge battle at a place called Kalinga, Ashoka saw something that changed his heart forever. He looked around and saw the sadness and destruction caused by the fight. It was like a light bulb went off in his head. Ashoka thought, "Is winning land worth all this sadness?" He decided it wasn't, so he made a big switch. He went from being a warrior king to a peaceful emperor who cared more about spreading kindness and helping people get along. Ashoka started following a path called Buddhism, which taught about peace, kindness, and living a good life. He wanted everyone in his big kingdom to know about these cool ideas, so he did something really smart. He had his messages carved on huge rocks and pillars all over India. It was like his way of sending texts to his people, telling them to be kind, respect all life, and live peacefully. But Ashoka didn't stop there. He built beautiful parks for people to enjoy and hospitals for people and animals too. He even sent messengers far away to other countries to spread messages of peace and kindness. Imagine that. A king who once loved battles now sending out peace vibes across the world. Ashoka's story is super special because it shows us that anyone can change. He went from being a king of wars to a king of hearts, teaching us that being kind and caring for others is a real superpower. And the coolest part? His messages of peace are still remembered today, showing that good ideas can last forever. Back when, Europe was like a giant puzzle with pieces scattered everywhere. Small kingdoms were all over, not getting along. Then came a king named Charlemagne, or Charles the Great. He had a dream bigger than just being a king. He wanted to be a king who made a difference. Charlemagne was a super tall and strong king who was really good at bringing people together. He went on many adventures, conquering lands, but he knew that winning battles wasn't enough to make his kingdom strong and happy. He had an idea that was quite ahead of his time. He thought, why not make everyone smart? So, he started something amazing: schools. Yes, Charlemagne turned his big, scattered kingdom into a huge classroom. He built schools not just for rich kids, but for everyone. He believed that learning stuff like reading, writing, and math was important for all his people, not just the knights and nobles. But Charlemagne didn't stop with schools. He also wanted his kingdom to be peaceful and well organized. So, he made new rules to help people get along better and live fairer lives. He even had people write down these rules, which was like making a giant rule book for his kingdom. Charlemagne's idea of bringing people together through education and fair rules made his kingdom super strong. It was like he used his king powers to turn on the light in a dark room. Thanks to him, people started talking to each other more, learning more, and even getting along better. And guess what? Because of all the smart and cool stuff Charlemagne did, he got a special title. He was crowned emperor. This made his kingdom the start of something big called the Holy Roman Empire. Charlemagne showed the world that being powerful isn't just about having a big army, but also about having a big heart and smart ideas. We just zoomed through time and met some of the greatest leaders ever. From brave warriors to peace-loving kings, they all had big dreams and even bigger hearts. Did you like our time travel? Then hit that subscribe button and join us for more awesome adventures. Remember, we're all part of this big, amazing story, and together we can keep exploring the past to find new adventures. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more history magic. See you in the next video.